I don't really know how you can get more against the wall than you were last week when we said the backs were against the wall. Just what a weird season. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Lago Vista football show. As the Vikings once again lose, a close, hard fought, great game. I mean, if you're just a fan of football, and if you just love high school football and you love competitive football, 13-4A Division II is where it's at. I mean, when you look at just, Lago Vista scores, lose 29-28, lose 35-28, lose 34-28. Then you go over to Gerald, who beat them. Their wins have been 35-21. That sounds like a blowout almost compared to the 35-28. Now they did blow out Smithfield, but Smithfield's down this year, though, as Coach Phillips will tell you, they're not terrible. Their record is, but they have some talent. But I mean, that's just how it's been this year in 13-4A Division II. A lot of great close games. And unfortunately for Lago Vista, they continue to be on the wrong side of the score. Now, in saying all that, the path is still there for them to make the playoffs. They got to win out. I mean, I jokingly said to Coach Phillips off the air, basically the playoffs start now. Like every team makes the playoffs because there's at one point in the season where you've got to win out just to make the playoffs. So technically, that is your playoff game. And this is a good chance to get right with ball, as we always say on sideline to sideline. Smithfield is better physically, better talented, but they're still down 0-6 on the year. They haven't been close in games, but, when you've had the tough run that the Vikings have, you ain't taking anybody for granted at this point. All right, we're going to do what we always do, and that's talk to the head coach of the Vikings, Coach Creighton Phillips, and we'll do all that when we come back right here on the Lago Vista Coaches Show. Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe. Terry Bennett back here on the Lago Vista football show, now joined by the head coach of the Vikings, Coach Creighton Phillips. And you said it best when I first called you. It's like a broken record. Coach, you lose a tough one, a close one, 34-28 against Gonzales. Once again, you had so many chances. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's frustrating. I feel terrible for, the kids and coaches and how this is kind of panning out. We talk about it all the time that there's a handful of plays in each game that, depending on which way they go, affects the final outcome of the game. And we continually find ourselves on the wrong end of those, 5 or 6 plays. No different Friday night. The kids, played well. We had a couple of turnovers. We had a couple of missteps in the kicking game. We misaligned on defense a couple of times. We don't execute short yardage offense. I mean, it's just a little bit here and there. It's 90% good and 10% not, but the 10% has really, really bitten us.
Well, and you and I were talking before we started, and you brought up a really good kind of perspective on this, and the individual game and your season kind of all match. You talked about how to play at the end of the game. If it works, y'all win. Everything else that happens still happened, and it doesn't matter because y'all win. Well, your season's like that. Yeah, it sucks that you're 0-3, but I mean, if you win out, and you very well can win out, your season is still there. Most of your goals are still attainable.
Right. Yeah. And so perspective-wise, as the coaching staff was mulling over what's it going to take to get over this hump, I just explained to them that, at the last play, if we score, we win the game. Instead of an interception, if we score, we win the game. The other 147 snaps of that game still happened. The difference is you win the game and you forgive yourself. You're very forgiving about what happened the rest of the game. But we didn't score. We didn't win. Now everything needs to be fixed. Well, it either all needed to be fixed or it's all okay anyway. And so we still played the same game, and we didn't execute in that moment. We didn't execute the last play of the half. We didn't execute the last play of the game offensively. And so those things need to get fixed. And so that needs to be addressed regardless if it would have worked out that one time or not. And so big focus on that this week, getting better at some things, and, ball security, giving out popsicles for anybody that gets an interception in practice or creates a turnover, that kind of, just anything that we can do to ramp up the issues that we feel like we can pinpoint that has been the difference in winning and losing for us.
Well, and looking over at the whole season, and you're not the type of coach that makes excuses, but y'all have had injuries, and to be fair, y'all have also just had some of the worst luck teams can have.
Right. And it all sounds like excuses, and so I don't really like to talk about that a lot. We still have to play with who's available.
Mm-hmm.
We have been, we've had games where we're missing 7, 8, almost double-digit kids off our. We have a 39-man roster, and I look up at practice, and we've got 21 kids suited out, ready to practice fully, and it is what it is. It's high school football. You play with who shows up, and so you have to prepare whoever it is to play. And that's part of your program. And I feel like our kids that have had to step in and step up, maybe change position, maybe go from a backup to a starter, I think they've done a really good job. And we're still just in a position where crucial moments have to be executed at a higher level. And that's just kind of how it's gone. It hadn't bounced our way. And I told the kids after the game, I was like, guys, we're going to have to create our own luck. We're going to have to win the little moments. They're not going to be given to us. Nothing is going to be given to you. And so you're going to have to win them in practice every day. We're going to have to win them in the game. And so we're going to have to create it by doing exactly, what the plan is and what everybody is on the same page doing.
Now, I know some people would be saying you're trying to stay alive for the playoffs. I contend that the playoffs just started early for y'all this year, as you're going to be taking on Smithville. You're basically, as we were talking before, weird things can happen. And I still feel like there might be some weirdness in this district. But for the most part, your path is still there. You went out, get a little help, you're going to make the playoffs. So it starts this week with you in Smithville. Loser probably is out for the playoffs for the year.
Yeah. I don't think we can. I'm sure there's mathematically ways to make it happen, but that's certainly not anything that we're banking on. We're planning on going out Friday night and executing at our highest level of the season and doing things right, finishing drives, getting stops, being good in the kicking game, and doing everything the way that we want to perform. And so I'm not I'm not going out with the hope that. Maybe we can do some cool math and make it work out. No, we definitely feel like we're in a playoff situation, and it's kind of do or die at this point. And I really feel like the last couple of days practice, the kids have kind of reflected that in the in the focus level that they've had. Coming off of such a disappointing situation, we felt like that kind of going into this last week, going to the Gonzales game with. Your destiny is in your hands. You went out. There's no math that takes you out of the playoffs, really. And so you don't win that game. Now you got to win out and also have a little bit of help. Now it's pretty plausible help, but things have to work out. And so our job is to just do our part and get the 3 wins that we do have an opportunity to get going forward, and then see where it goes from there.
Well, Smithville's 0-6. They haven't won a game since 2023. But you're telling me when you look at the film that there's some things that they do well, and you like some of the things they do. Yeah.
Coach is doing a great job over there. Their offense is really pretty cool. I think if they had just a little bit different mix of kids or some young kids step up, they could be really pretty dangerous. They've got some good-looking kids. They've got some tall, athletic. They got some big kids. They do a good job pursuing to the ball defensively. They've gotten plenty of stops. Their game with Gonzales a little bit lopsided, but not. I mean, they held them to one less touchdown than we did. So, or one more touchdown than we did. But it's a deal where this is a Friday night football game, and what we have learned in the last 3 weeks is anything can happen. And to go out there with any level of relaxation that everything's just going to be okay, I think would not be very smart. So we are amped up, we are focused, and we are ready to go out and perform on Friday night.
As always, I do want to thank Coach Phillips, especially in a rough year. it's not easy to want to talk this weekly about how just the same thing keeps kind of happening, and you're having a year, especially this year when I think a lot of people, including us so-called pundits. I had Lago Vista being a dark horse region winner. And the weirdest thing is, I still think that could be possible. And I'm not just saying that because I'm doing a Lago Vista football show. I said it on our 4A show, Sideline to Sideline. You should check that out, by the way. YouTube.com/@L4 Media Company, or on all podcast platforms, or on our podcast page, S2SGrantandTerry.com. But I said it, this week, we always record on Tuesdays. I'm like, this team, if they can get right and they can figure out some of these one or two mistakes that end up costing you so big, eliminate those, they still can beat anybody in that region in 4A Division 2. They just have to do it at this point. All right, if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, you can email the show, Terry@S2Sport.com. Hopefully, we'll be talking next week after that first district win, and let's ramp up and get ready for getting into the playoffs. And hey, once you get in, as Bill Parcells used to say, just get into the tournament. Anything can happen.